you would prefer the human race to endure, right?
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would, this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions and
Should the human race survive?
Palantir's website is one of those where they just say shit without actually meaning anything. AI-powered automation for every decision? What the f are you even talking about, man? And every video on this topic is so confusing. Nobody actually explains what they do, except me, of course. Palantir is the crystal ball from Lord of the Rings that allow people using it to see what is going on the other side of the world and also communicate with each other. And I think that explains basically everything that Palantir is doing. It is Big Brother. It is basically a big data collection company where they look at many different sets of data, connect the dots, and use it to determine if you have been a good boy or not in government's eyes. That is one of their uses, because they do whatever their client needs at the time, because their client list stretches from the United States Army and CIA and FBI to ICE and to Wendy's. For example, they analyze all the data and help ICE figure out who is overstaying their visa, where they might be according to their family connections, workplaces, social media information, and phone numbers. And when they analyze all that data with the help of AI, they get the answer, and ICE gets to plan arrests and deportations. And Wendy's uses them to make their supply chain better, to get you your cheese sauce in a more productive fashion. They get these answers by just pulling massive amounts of data from everywhere and putting that data through AI to figure out the answer, whether it's deportations or Wendy's supply chains. They also work with healthcare companies. Whether or not you like Palantir is up to whether or not you are a Western supremacist, because that is the company's whole idea. Just hear the CEO out.
But the problem I care about is making America the dominant military force on the planet in a way that's so indisputable that our enemies and adversaries wake up in moderate to extreme fear and go to bed in moderate to extreme fear.
For now, what they do is basically analyze data so the government can use it. There's also a reason why Palantir's stock has rose rapidly after Trump came to power, because many of Palantir's former employees are in the Trump administration now, and also because Peter Thiel, the guy in the beginning, has donated $1.5 million to Trump in 2016 and $15 million to J.D. Vance. They also help the army that uses bombs to do gender reveals in Gaza. Palantir has had to deal with a lot of protests recently because of their involvement in the Gaza war, because they help Israel select targets in Gaza. Even a lot of their employees quit after this. And this company personally scares me a lot because they basically have infinite funding now to spy on people and give companies and governments their services. And as you realize, this does not only include the American and Israeli governments, but also currently the UK one, where Palantir has been arguing with British doctors about how they don't actually know what's best for patients because the doctors thought Palantir was a sus company.
Oh. Yeah. And you know, well, do you want to hear my answer? Okay. So the primary source of in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will. Mostly terrorists, that's true.
The only thing I can think about is that America became everything it was accusing China of doing. They use face tracking software to judge if you're a good person or not. We don't do that. Trump taps Palantir to create a master database on every American.
Mr. Thiel, do you have any comments about Palantir's surveillance of the American people, sir? Or any of your connections to Jeffrey Epstein? I think people are rather concerned about that last particular one. You're setting up a Big Brother surveillance system, and people know it, sir. You think the American people want this surveillance tech being used against them? Any comments at all on the Epstein connections? You're meeting with them. People are waking up to what you're doing there, sir. That's why we're here covering this.
So now a private company is going to have data about every single American which AI can use to judge if you've been a good boy or not, which is the most dystopian shit I've ever seen. We're all used to the fact that social media companies store your data to serve you more personalized ads, but this is crazy because this is a file on who you are as a person, including every single detail of your life, including the IRS, Social Security, immigration databases. This is some Metal Gear Solid shit. It will pull all the data together, and then AI will quote-unquote profile behavior, detect fraud, and identify individuals or patterns deemed risky by the system. So basically, they will police you based on what the AI thinks you might do in the future, where if they think you're a threat, the police might pull up on you based on the assessment of AI. I don't want AI making decisions about people, man. But Palantir is not the only one using AI for dystopian national defense. OpenAI also landed a $200 million contract with the Pentagon. Like, look at this. On the right, they're framing it as OpenAI is just going to explore the military industry to address national security challenges. And on the left, it tells you that, yeah, it's going to be used for war. And also gives you the information right there that to make this deal, OpenAI quietly ended their promise of using AI for military purposes. I was able to quickly understand how this story was being covered with today's sponsor, Ground News. This just goes to show you the difference between how the left and the right report things. And in today's age, where everybody is so polarized, I think it would be nice to get some humanity and see the news without any bias, which is good because Ground News also shows you who the sources you're seeing is owned by and how factual it is, along with international sources, such as this one for Spanish speakers. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you will most likely have to deal with the US military at least once in your life, so you better stay up to date, which is very useful so you don't accidentally read the news by the far-right low factuality source of 100% fed up. And bro, even their website looks like a satirical thing from The Boys. And it's genuinely a good app since it's fully independent and subscriber funded and has been Apple's app of the day 5 times across 38 countries. And right now with my link or the QR code you see here, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to everything, which is about $5 a month. Just go to ground.news/Gattsu or scan the QR code on screen. Thank you, Ground News. Especially when the company is ran by a guy who literally understands that his ideology is too unpopular and the public would never accept it. So he's grateful for technology because he can force it on people with technology, using donations to politicians and his own tech.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
Also, most of the clips I have been using beforehand was from the co-founder, the chairman, not even the CEO. So let's hear him out.
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
I personally would not condone spraying fentanyl on negative analysts with a drone. I personally would call you insane if someone said that. But I'm not American, you know, here in Eastern Europe, we prefer corrupt oligarchs as leaders that probably don't have their separate islands. Probably though, I don't know for sure. He also said that the US will very likely fight a 3-front war against Russia, China, and Iran. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, you can take Russia and Iran out together. I sincerely believe that. But I don't know how the fuck you're planning to add China to that list. I know the company's main goal is to make America's enemies afraid, but Russia, Iran, and China together? Bro, China has a bazillion people, bro, and good military. There's no way. Mr. Karp said that we are very close to Terminator robots. What? AI Terminator robots? Oh my god, man. What the fuck? So not only are we determining who is good or bad with AI, but now we are doing Terminator robots. I don't think I can trust a company whose whole business model is determining who is good or bad with data, and side by side they would have Terminator robots. I just don't think those two would mix well, you know? In 2017, Google won a Pentagon contract, Project Maven, which would help the military use Google's AI to analyze drone footage. And then the employees protested, telling the CEO that Google should not be in the business of war. And soon after, Google backed away from the project. But then Palantir came through saying, Silicon Valley is telling the average American, I will not support your defense needs, while selling products that are adversarial to America. That is a loser position. And then picked up that contract 2 years later. I think the government side of Palantir is the worst side, honestly, because I don't really see how fucking Wendy's using Palantir can be of many daily dangers, but a government making a file on every single person with AI determining whether they're a good boy or a bad boy can most definitely be used wrong. Because even fucking like Ferrari and Airbus uses Palantir to streamline their production process. But to have AI deem you risky or not based on your behavior, combined with the fact that ICE got massive salary raises, it cannot be good for the immigrants, as we already saw, but for already born and raised Americans, it can also fuck you up because Palantir's Gotham software determines who gets flagged for closer scrutiny by law enforcement and immigration officers with their predictive policing. You cannot predict what I'll do. I put a dildo on my ear pretending I was talking to Olaf Scholz. You cannot predict this. So if the AI predicts that you might be on some bullshit in its own eyes, you will get flagged for closer scrutiny from law enforcement. I don't want fucking Palantir GPT sending my file to the police because I texted my friend, I think Israel is killing too many people, naively. I just don't think anyone should have this amount of power, any government or anything. Because at this point, you just have to pray they are good people instead of lunatics who would use it against you. But it's like having nukes. It's better that nobody fucking has it because all it takes is Pakistan and India beefing more and we are all dead because this technology will get transferred to other countries as well, you know? And all it takes is one evil ass government to fuck everything up with this technology. They also did some sus shit in JP Morgan where, according to the report, using the technology, JP Morgan looked for signs of upset and irritated employees to help prevent insider threats against the company. This was done by looking at GPS locations, emails, transcripts from recorded calls, as well as past history of the employee. The program even took it as far as physically watching suspects after hours. Oh my god, man, I would be so fucking pissed if I found out my office job was watching me after work. Bro, I was pulling night shifts at 18 and you're gonna watch me after that as well? I would have fucking crashed out. I was being paid $400 a month working night shifts. On top of that, if they spied on me, I would fucking tweak. Then they would have an actual threat on their hands. No. That's a joke. That's a joke, man. I would never hurt a fly. I always thought that these people who install Linux and shit and switch to all these privacy-first software were a bit too paranoid, but they were completely correct. Having AI determine if you should be investigated by the police cannot be a good idea. So there's a lot of things you can do to make your data more private. For messaging, Signal is the best application by far because even the American government uses it, and Edward Snowden, who was a massive whistleblower. For web browsing, Firefox or Brave browser is the best, and I don't know anything else, and I'm not being paid to say any of this, but also I'm pretty sure Windows watches me jack off. I'm like 80% certain there is no way an operating system should lag as much as Windows does on my fucking monster computer. This month I did 3 videos in a month, bro. You should subscribe only for that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and like and subscribe, and goodbye.
ქართველების დედა მოყვა. ვინ არიან ეს?
დედა მოყანი ჩემი ტაქტიკა. ესეთი ბიჭი რომ ხედავს მერე პანიკა. რაისგელი ბიჭო შენ ხარ უბნის ლაიკა. ჩემი ასახოძე კოფტა ფუსი გალიკა. Big pocket, მეფედრონა არიკა. ბიჭი გაილახა ხელზე ქონდა სვასტიკა. დედიკო